What's good, everybody? Welcome to our second podcast ever. I'm regular dude Matt.
I'm regular dude Joe.
And welcome to Overreaction Tuesday. It's a national holiday for football fans to overreact. The first day after week one, we'll be going over all the games, so we can definitely partake in overreacting as well. We're going to go over some games, go over next week's games, and look at a couple other things as well. Thanks for being with us today. Hope everyone has having a good day. Let's jump right into it. Start with week one. Start with the Packers at the Bears.
What a game.
Yeah, this game was riveting from start to finish, huh? I mean, 100th season, big ceremony. You know, you bring out the Bears, so the old school Bears, waving towels around, again hyped, and you put up 3 points.
That offense was not clicking at all.
Matt Nagy's supposed to be a genius, right? That's like a...
I don't know. I did say in our last podcast that Green Bay added some defensive players, 2 or 3 from Baltimore. So
you did say that.
And Adrian Amos, who had that big pick at the end of the game.
That is true. I will give you credit for that. What could you have said? You saw this coming at least?
No, I didn't see a 10-3 game.
And what about the Packers offense? I mean, I know Matt LaFleur's first game. Everyone's going to talk about, give him time. But their only touchdown was just a jump ball, which Jimmy Graham is a big dude, so good for him. You can just post up in there.
He finally scored again.
Yeah, it's been a while since Jimmy Graham's name's been has a touchdown on the stat sheet there.
I don't know. I just think I didn't expect the Packers to throw up like 45 points. This is the Bears defense.
Right, no, that as well, but
it was just an ugly start to the season. I don't know why the Patriots didn't start off as defending Super Bowl champions.
Yeah, it's something new they're doing this starting this year. I don't know. I forgot where I heard why they were doing it, but
it's because Goodell is a Patriot hater.
That must be what it is. Just a weird game, and honestly, the whole week was weird. So it's kind of goes with the program on that one, right? It was just a weird, wacky week.
Yeah, I'm gonna want you to elaborate on that later.
Yeah, well, we will for sure. We're getting to the 1 o'clock games because we really have nothing really to talk about. I mean, Aaron Rodgers barely got over 200 yards. Allen Robinson was the only bright spot for the Bears offense. 102 yards on 7 catches.
Yeah, he's going back to his form when he was with Jacksonville.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully that could be
when him and Allen Hurns turned up.
I don't know. Wacky game. Let's just move right past it. First 1 o'clock game to get to that we're talking about, the Rams at the Panthers. Also kind of a weird game, started slow. Malcolm Brown coming in, vulturing 2 touchdowns. I'm sure Todd Gurley, the fans were happy about that fantasy-wise. McCaffrey went absolutely crazy.
I mean, to have 200-plus all-purpose yards, 3 touchdowns. It sucks if you played against him in fantasy like I did.
Right, yeah, this is a fantasy nightmare for people on the other side at least.
But you have to run that offense through him.
Of course, yeah. Cam Newton did not show up in this one. He moved the ball pretty well, but no touchdowns for him. Pick and a fumble as well, I believe. Panthers came back. They clawed back a little bit.
Yeah, they had the block punt that set up
that was
McCaffrey's
big.
Last touchdown.
That was definitely big. I mean, is there a reason to worry about the Panthers with how they looked, or is that with the way they climbed back in it? Is that going to be something to look forward to? Because this is the Rams we're talking about.
I would take more positives out of it. I mean, the Rams, even though they lost in Dominican Sue, still have Aaron Donald in the middle.
Right.
Still have a incredibly stout defense. Are defending NFC champions.
Yeah. And definitely not as boring as a game as a 10-3 Packers-Bears.
Yeah, I'm more excited than that.
Points went up on the board. Not really much else to hit on there. Gurley looked good. Supposed to be load management. Still ran for 100 yards and 15 carries. He looked good. It looked like there was no problems.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the hype about his knee injury was just, some noise.
Too much. Yeah, noise.
But
if we played news or noise, that would definitely be in the noise category. Let's move on here to more points getting put on the board. The Cleveland Browns, I guess they didn't wake up feeling dangerous today.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone had this going into the week after all the hype about the Browns offense going into the season.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think a huge part of it here is that we missed the boat, or at least I missed the boat on the Titans completely. Knew they had a good defense. I thought that would be, the only reason they would be in games this year. they absolutely demolished Baker Mayfield, which we'll get to. Derrick Henry came out of nowhere with this performance. Maybe some people saw it, right? He did it at the end of last year. Is this something that you think is going to be consistent?
No, I don't think. I think it'll turn around. I think the Browns will start to pick it up, and the Titans will slow down.
So don't overreact on the Browns.
This is
not
not
what you're telling me?
Yeah.
So even though it's national overreact, they don't overreact. We are who they thought we are. This is what Delaney Walker said in the locker room.
Bill Parcells said years ago when he was coaching the Giants, you can't really judge a team by the first week. You have to wait at least 4 games.
That's true.
And then the Giants in 2007 went 0-4.
Oof.
Oh no, actually they were 2-2, and then 2-4, and then went on their
massive run and ended
right.
the Patriots' 16 or perfect season.
18-1.
Yeah, 18-1 giant loss. But we gotta wait a couple weeks to really make big decisions and big predictions. I don't know. The Titans, they looked good, but it was more of the Browns giving it away.
Baker Mayfield, a lot of people's picks, surprise pick, sleeper pick for MVP this year. Didn't show it, obviously. We'll get to that a little bit later, but that was definitely a shocking game to see. The next game to talk about, the Chiefs at the Jaguars. Another high-scoring game. Another road victory. This is actually 4 road victories in a row. Before we get to some of the performances that happened, Nick Foles, obviously, on a beautiful dime to Mr. DJ. Is it Shark? Well, how do you Chark?
I think it's Chark.
Yeah, well, beautiful dime to him in the corner of the end zone. Falls on the left shoulder while taking a hit. Broken collarbone, should be out for a while. Surgery successful. So that is at least a good thing.
He went on IR. He won't be back till week 11 at the earliest.
Okay, so, hopefully sooner than later, because it was nice to see Foles at least out there competing. But the Chiefs, and Mahomes, and obviously this guy on the screen, Sam
without
Watkins.
Tyreek Hill separated his collarbone too.
Right. No surgery for Hill, though,
No.
which is nice. Not put on IR, so should be back sooner than later. Good for my Raiders playing them next week. At least they won't have to deal with both Watkins and Hill. But talking about performances that we never would have thought about, obviously we just talked about Derrick Henry. Sammy Watkins, is he ever going to do this again?
He's been injury-riddled over the past few seasons, but he does have the talent. He could do it, and he does have the reigning MVP as his quarterback. We've seen in the past, Mahomes doesn't need to look at his targets to connect with them.
Although he does owe Travis Kelce lunch or something, according to his Twitter, after missing him on that no-look throw wide open in the end zone. Mahomes, 378 yards, 3 tutties. LaShawn McCoy,
he had 300 He had 300 before half.
Before half, They kind of slowed down after that.
Yeah.
Managed the game, just made sure they won. I mean, Damian Williams, LaShawn McCoy, something we talked about in our preview for the season, how that would react. What did you think seeing both of them out there and how they both did?
So I think Damian outtouched him 19-11 running the ball. But
running the ball was 13-10. Damian had 13.
But he had a couple receptions, so I guess 19 touches.
19 touches total, yes. He had 6 catches for 39 yards, 26 yards on the ground in those 13 carries, which is not good, but he had the touchdown.
I mean, I watched the game because I have a lot of Chiefs on my fantasy team. And it was Shady would make a move and, break off a 23-yard run, and then they'd run the same exact play, the following play, with Damian Williams running to the left.
Goodness gracious.
You're not gonna get the Jaguars defense twice.
I wonder if that was almost a setup by Andy Reid to try to compare them. That'd be pretty interesting.
No, I think it's more they're gonna maximize Shady. He won't get as many touches, but when he's in the game, he's gonna get touches.
It'll be called for him. Yeah. I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see. Obviously, 10 rushes for 81 yards for Shady McCoy. Obviously, more effective on the ground. Whether they kind of transition Damian Williams into more of a pass catching role, or what they do there will be interesting to see going forward.
But he got the goal line touches.
But he was the one that got the goal line touch, and he got the touchdown.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that is pretty big. Jaguars, what in the world is this guy's name that stepped in? Yeah,
you
this
didn't watch
guy.
College football?
Washington State.
I'm not a college football guy.
So he was actually Jalen Hurts' backup at Alabama 2 years ago before Tua came. And then Tua came and Minshew wanted to play, so I think he was transferring to another Pac-12 school, but then ended up going to Washington State last minute. And he was good in the Pac-12. I mean, Washington State always played in a bowl game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really high on, obviously, when we get to Monday Night Football, Derek Carr's performance, but this guy, Minshew, 22 for 25.
He started the game like 11 for 11, which is like a rookie record.
Yeah, he was incredible. 275, 2 touchdowns. He did throw one pick and, so whatever. But first game in the NFL, coming in, trying to compete with the best team, our Super Bowl pick for the AFC.
Yeah.
Which
might
AFC
change. Which might change later.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, obviously, but good for him coming in. Somebody you could definitely root for, obviously. All blessings to Nick Foles and his recovery. Next game was just like we talked about this whole time. Wacky week. The worst team in the NFL.
This is one of those games where they say, when they say the worst NFL team would lose to like an Alabama or a Clemson.
Right.
I think the Dolphins might actually lose that. And I've always defended the NFL team. They're professionals. They get paid to do this. But
They're that bad.
It's like the players don't even want to play for them.
Well, they clearly don't, which we'll get into later as well. But Ryan Fitzpatrick, 14 for 29. Oh, that's ugly. 185 a tutty, and obviously Lamar Jackson played out of his freaking mind. Hollywood Brown, first 2 catches, 2 touchdowns, and 130 yards. I mean, it's 59 points. 59-10 was the final score. Ravens at Dolphins. Is there any stock we can take in this game when thinking about the Ravens offense, or do we just throw it out the window and say they played the worst team by far? Let's wait and see.
I think that it'll change. The game plan against the Ravens offense will change.
Right.
Because clearly the Dolphins were playing for the run and didn't put a
Right.
safety back there with Hollywood Brown running a 4-3.
Twice. I know. Twice it happened. The only thing that makes me concerned is Lamar Jackson only threw the ball 20 total times. I know he didn't play the fourth quarter, but
he was
had a
incredibly
great
accurate.
game. Great game. He was accurate. He I'm not saying he can't throw. I was one of the people that said he can throw when he was coming out of the draft and not listening to all that talk. But just want to see before I buy Lamar Jackson as one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, I need to see a little bit more from the offense in general,
Yeah, I
not
wouldn't go
necessarily
that
his
far,
tools.
just, yeah.
Right.
I mean, he was good at Louisville when he had weapons around him, and then he struggled his senior year, and then came into the NFL, and Baltimore didn't have that many weapons, and they drafted 2 receivers.
Right.
Picked up Mark Ingram, solidified their running game, and Mark Ingram wasn't even targeted in the passing game, and he's a great receiver.
He had a great game, by the way, not to not mention Mark Ingram.
On his debut.
Finally a number 1 back. Had a monster game, 100-plus yards, 2 tutties on the day. But let's move on real quick because that game, wacky game. This game also, by the way, a wacky game. Kirk Cousins in this game, who people love as a quarterback, very high-paid quarterback, doesn't even eclipse 100 total yards through the air. All defense for the Vikings, all running game. Dalvin Cook, 21 carries, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns. Similar performance to Mark Ingram now that I see those stats. Falcons 12, Vikings 28. Falcons, they had no run game. Both Ito Smith and Devontae Freeman looked awful. Matt Ryan, he gets over 300 yards, but 2 picks. I mean, it was just ugly, no offense. It kind of reminded me of the Falcons from 2 years ago when they missed the playoffs. What do we make of this game? Obviously, the Falcons aren't great on the road. Are the Falcons going to just be awful this year?
Oh, no, I love Matt Ryan at home. He's a dome quarterback, but on the road, it's strange. And he played at BC, so he should be used to, cold weather outdoors, even though Minnesota's in a dome.
Right. It's also in September. I mean,
Yeah.
it shouldn't be too cold yet.
I think Julio was just shut down. Calvin Ridley had the touchdown. Austin Hooper was a little surprised. I mean, he was more of a safety blanket, but what do you have, 7 receptions, 60-something yards?
Austin Hooper's had 9 catches on 9 targets for
Wow.
77 yards.
Yeah.
Julio did have a touchdown, but he only had 6 catches for 31 yards. And Ridley obviously had the other touchdown with 64 yards, but only on 4 catches. All of that kind of concerns me. Only 6 catches for Julio, only 4 catches for Calvin Ridley on 6 total targets. It was just, it just seemed like they couldn't even move the sticks.
Yeah.
Rough performance from the Falcons. Again, you love them at home. Maybe they're at home next week, right, against the Eagles, I believe.
Yes, they're on Sunday night.
Maybe we see a completely different team, and then we can not overreact. But the way that they look to me right now makes me feel like I should flip those teams. In our preview, I obviously said the Falcons would make the playoffs and the Vikings would just miss it. The way I looked at that game, I might have to switch it just based off the Vikings defense alone. Now let's head over to New York. Le'Veon's first game in, I don't even know how many days. Yeah, it was something ridiculous. Playing against the Bills, a division rival. 17 Bills, 16 Jets. Comes down to the end of the game. Obviously, the Jets should have been winning, right? 4 points on the board by that kicker.
Yeah, that kicker. He got released today, too.
He did. He got waived, and they picked up another kicker with a familiar name. I'm not exactly sure where from. Also just traded for Demaryius Thomas, maybe trying to get another weapon or two in there. Were these teams both just that bad that it was a battle? Where do you place both of these teams after seeing what you saw?
Oh no, I had Sam Darnold making a big step his sophomore year, and obviously it's early. Don't want to overreact on this fine Tuesday.
Exactly, National Overreaction Football Tuesday. I made that up, but
TM trademarked.
Yeah, exactly.
But the Bills didn't really get going on offense until the fourth quarter, really. It was 6-0 at halftime, and the Jets' only points were on a C.J. Mosley pick six.
Yep.
And they didn't even get going. I mean, we knew the Bills' defense is solid, but on the road at the Jets, up 16-0, and you blow the game, really interesting. I mean,
I didn't expect that from the Jets. I thought they, could at least get a field goal or into good position.
Yeah, I mean, well, even if they got into field goal range, they probably, I don't know if they would have kicked it. I don't know if they would have made it. I probably wouldn't have. Maybe some bright spots in the second half for the Bills in terms of John Brown with 7 catches, 123 yards, and a touchdown. Singletary looked very good.
A lot of energy, but he was still out-touched by Frank Gore.
He was out-touched.
Still going.
Yeah, that man he's on a mission right now. I think he's like 200 and a little bit over 200 yards away from passing, I think, Barry Sanders. So that's probably what's motivating him.
Which is really impressive because he's been really
for,
quiet for the past few years.
Ever. Yeah, Singletary almost got to 100 total yards. Only 4 carries, but 70 total yards on the ground. Maybe there's something to make with that. Le'Veon Bell looked good. Let's not get it twisted. Jamison Crowder looked great.
I mean, he had 17 targets and caught 14 of them.
There's obviously going to be regression to the mean there, especially bringing in Demaryius Thomas coming in. Probably will play next week at this point.
Chris Herndon coming back in a couple weeks.
Herndon will come back. So maybe not to look too much into that, but both these teams kind of are who they thought we were. Just to go back to Delaney Walker there. Is what it is. Moving on, Washington at Philly. Another really, really weird game. Obviously 27-32 in favor of the Eagles. This game started off 17-0 Redskins, and I was with an Eagle fan this weekend, and I said, if there was one game this weekend that I thought you could just write it off, I would have said Eagles beating the Redskins at home.
I mean, and as much as I hate the Eagles, I had them in both my survivor pools.
Oh, so you were probably nervous. You were sweating.
My dad was. I was saying, it's at home. Doug Peterson will make his adjustments, and it is the Redskins.
It is the Redskins. Case Keenum actually looked okay, believe it or not. 380 yards and 3 touchdowns. He just finds a way to start. He finds that team that doesn't have one, and he goes to them. I don't know if this is all planned, if it's an A-B situation where he just gets to where he needs to be.
I mean, he had that big touchdown to Vernon Davis early, which kind of padded the stats a little bit.
Oh, yeah, he had another bomb to Terry McLaurin, I think his name is, the rookie.
But
was
Dice
nice.
Got hurt.
Mm-hmm. They had to throw.
Chris Thompson's not going to run. Wasn't going to run the ball that much, and AP was a healthy scratch for the first time in his career.
What do you make of that? Why would you put AP as a healthy scratch?
I'm not sure. I don't know who they activated over. Because they probably activated an extra offensive lineman with Trent Williams out. But.
Right. Makes no sense to me. And then your running back goes out. Like, if your running back makes it through and he's healthy for the whole game, fine. But then your running back goes out. It's like, well, this is your fault. This is your fault. There's a lot of uproar over AP being inactive. Deshaun Jackson getting back to his old ways.
I
It looked
hated
like he
every
was.
second of that.
I bet you did. It looked like he was 20-something again. Because he's in the 30s, right?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that. I just think the Redskins forgot to cover him.
Maybe, but he looked as fast as he's always been. Maybe that's just him, and he hasn't slowed down at all, but...
I mean, the touchdown to go 21-20 up on the Redskins, there wasn't a defender within 25 yards of him. He kind of just walked in the end zone. I'm surprised he didn't drop it at the one again.
Right, and that's the Redskins for you. Let's not forget to mention Carson Wentz struggled first half, balled out second half, ended up with 313 and 3 tutties. Other than Deshaun Jackson, Ertz was the next highest in receiving yards at 54. Only had 5 catches, so...
He had 1 going into the fourth quarter, too.
Right.
Yeah.
Something maybe to make of that for those that are super high in Ertz, repeating what he did last year. Either way, the Eagles pulled it out. Might have made people nervous in Philly for a little bit. Head up to the 4 o'clock games. This was a great one. 24 for the Colts to 30 for the Chargers. Marlon Mack had a game and a half. 25 carries, 174 yards, and a touchdown. The Colts absolutely battled.
Do we overhype the NFL's leading rusher right now, or?
The NFL's leading rusher is Marlon Mack. Yeah, let's overreact about it. Let's do it.
I mean, they do have one of the best offensive lines in the league.
Which gave Brissett some time, and that's why I think they were able to compete. I mean, they leaned on Mack. We knew they would. Chargers stacked the box, not too much, not to the point where they left receivers and their corners on an island, but they game planned for it, and Mack still was able to do what he did. I think that's a good sign for the Colts going forward.
There were some bad tackling in this game, though, too.
Also,
the T.Y. Hilton touchdown, the Eckler touchdowns. I don't know.
Speaking of Eckler, that dude absolutely balled out with 3 touchdowns on the day.
150
Melvin Gordon,
yards.
Who? Right? You know what?
Giving the Chargers a lot of
Trade
confidence.
Melvin Gordon. This guy just shows you that you don't need him. Trade him. At least get some value for him.
And Justin Jackson performed well against the Ravens last year and, had a decent game
He had,
on Sunday as well.
he had a decent game for the amount of touches he got. Obviously, this game went into overtime with a great move by T.Y. Hilton to get into the end zone. Unfortunate the way that it ended, me being a Raiders fan wanting the Chargers to lose. But this was probably the best game we've talked about so far. The least wacky game.
Yeah.
And it still went into OT on a late touchdown and 2-point conversion.
And
by
the way
the
we
Colts.
predicted.
That's
We
true.
both had the Chargers.
That is true. We both had the Chargers. Let's move along to another 4 o'clock game.
And a surprising one, too.
Wacky. Just weird. Now, we sat here and we just killed the Bengals. You predicted they'd have 1 win. They almost got their 1 win on Sunday, losing to the Seahawks in Seattle 20-21. John Ross III, who I didn't even know was John Ross because I think last year he wore 15 and now he was wearing 11. I don't know what happened. This man, 158 yards, 2 touchdowns, 7 catches. Obviously, the 2 were bombs. He's one of the fastest dudes in the whole league.
I think he has the record for fastest 40 time.
Yeah, I think he does. We might have to double check that, but I think you are right. I mean, the Seahawks, they kind of did what we thought they would do. They controlled the game,
Ran the ball
long
heavy.
drives, ran the ball heavy, not a lot of throwing. Tyler Lockett only caught 1 ball, I think, right? Let's
Yeah,
double
for
check
44
that.
yards and a
Now,
touchdown.
it was the touchdown, which was nice, but for a second we were like, where's Lockett, right?
Yeah, and then DK Metcalf had a decent debut.
He looked okay,
Yeah.
especially for someone that people were saying was banged up. We don't know how he's going to look.
He
4
wasn't the
catches,
best
though.
route runner coming out of Ole Miss.
Right. Didn't have the best hands either. He was just big and physical. 4 catches for 89 yards for DK Metcalf. Obviously, the Seahawks pull it off here. Let's not forget to mention Andy Dalton. We sat here and as we were bashing them, we said, "This is it for Andy Dalton."
Without AJ Green,
Without
Joe Mixon
Clark,
goes out. Should have been game over.
and Andy Dalton throws for 418 yards. Only 2 touchdowns that went both to John Ross, but I mean, he absolutely balled out in this game. A lot of props to the Bengals. I personally think there is something to make of this. Not to the point where they're going to compete in their division and make playoffs and anything like that, but from
Let's steal a
going
couple
from
wins.
from what we thought. Again, I made the comment that they just have too much offensive talent to not be competitive. This was kind of showing that kind of proved both of us wrong. But the Seahawks still were able to edge it out there. Another wacky game we're going to talk about is the Lions and the Cardinals. Our first tie of the year.
Yeah, I hate seeing ties.
Ties are just annoying. Like, that's not what sports are for.
And I love soccer, and everyone makes that comparison. Is how can you like a sport that can end in a tie? And I always come back, well, do you watch football? And they're like, oh, it doesn't happen often. Well, it happened week 1.
It happened week 1.
And a debut for Kyler Murray, the number 1 overall pick.
Which, by the way, I'm happy that it happened in a comeback at least. Like if it was a close game the whole time, then it would just be like, oh, screw this. Kyler Murray had to make a big comeback effort, and we got to see Kyler Murray that we thought he might be. Obviously, some rough patches to start with that offense. It's new.
We didn't know what to expect because they hadn't showcased it. This is the first time they're playing anyone.
And not playing basic plays, and they're really going into the Cliff Kingsbury offense.
Right.
And they probably should have won because they had a defensive back drop an interception.
They should have won, yeah.
In overtime with like 40 seconds left.
Yep. No, they absolutely should have. You got to see Kyler Murray's reaction when it happened too.
Yeah.
David Johnson played pretty well, 18 for 82. Got involved in the passing game, scored a touchdown. Obviously, the guy to talk about it though was really Larry Fitzgerald. Larry Legend, continuing to be a legend. 8 catches, 113 yards, and a touchdown. Kyler stepped it up. On the Lions side, they kind of controlled most of the game and fell apart late, obviously. That was why they came back. But Matthew Stafford looked great.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't rushed.
Had time, 385 yards, 3 touchdowns. And the story of the Lions is really, do they have the next Gronk?
Yeah, rookie T.J. Hockenson was really highly rated coming out of Iowa. It was him and Noah Fant, and the Lions felt they got their guy at eighth overall.
8th overall pick, and he was great. 131 yards and a touchdown on 6 catches. Can't really be more excited as a Lions fan than they should be after failing to win a game they should have easily won and ending in a tie.
Yeah.
Just seeing some of the things that they saw though. I would take some stock as a Lions fan in that maybe this won't be as bad of a year as they thought it might be.
Yeah.
Now let's get on to your favorite game that you watched so closely.
I was very frustrated.
The Giants-Cowboys. Giants 17, Cowboys 35. Your boy Saquon did what we thought he would do. Should have given him the ball more, right?
Yeah, I mean, contrary to everything we've been told, it wasn't Eli's fault. It was our defense. And I think it was our game plan. I don't know what Sherman was thinking, but it worked really early using Saquon as a decoy, and then you saw Evan Ingram really benefit from that with a touchdown in the first drive.
Ingram had a great game.
But it gets to a point where you just have to feed Saquon. I mean, you score on the only drive where he goes off. You don't really run the ball with him much after that. I think he had 6 carries on the first drive and 5 the rest of the game.
And ended with 11 carries. Only 4 receptions. So only got 15 touches. That's not enough, obviously.
I mean, for a guy that you're predicting to have 400 carries or 400 touches over the year,
right,
you'd want to see him get fed.
Right.
Especially going against, the Cowboys. And when you're so overmatched at every level like the Giants are with the Cowboys, incredibly young defense opposed to the Cowboys who, were a couple plays of, getting to the Super Bowl last year or at least competing for an NFC championship. You want to control the game. You want to run the ball, control the clock, keep the ball out of the Cowboys' hands, and, get 3 points here, get 7 points here, and play your game and not really go into what the Cowboys wanted you to play like.
Well, the Cowboys flipped the script on them, I think, so quickly that they had to get away from what they didn't have to, but they did. They chose to, and it obviously didn't work out. Dak was incredible. Zeke, limited, but 53 yards and a touchdown.
But they scored 35 unanswered points.
Right. And Cooper was great. Gallup, the surprise, in my opinion, with 158 yards on 7 catches. I loved Gallup going into the year. I didn't think he would have that big of an impact on week 1. But, at the end of the day, 35 unanswered points, like you said, flipped the switch for the Cowboys, and that's kind of what happened. Moving on to this is the last 4 o'clock game. The other wacky one, right? The 49ers and the Bucs. This was just a disgusting game. Both teams, I had no idea who to put as the offensive player. Like, who do you showcase? And I mean, Kittle had 8 catches, so sure, there's that. Godwin had the touchdown. At the end of the day, it was really just defense, turnovers, ugliness. Garoppolo only 166 yards.
Yeah, but that's his first game back. The movement in the pocket has to come back to him.
Of course, and hopefully that'll get better. I think.
But there's no excuse for James Winston on the other side of the ball.
That was what I was going to say. I mean, Bruce Arians supposed to be this quarterback whisperer. 3 interceptions, 2 for pick sixes. Shout out to Richard Sherman for getting his first pick 6 with the 49ers. He did not have one last year. This was just a terrible game Two teams that we didn't think would be particularly good,
But there was a little more to be excited about with San Francisco. Two really good defensive ends in DeForest Buckner and
right.
And
the defense
Nick
showed
Bosa,
up.
right? Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa's younger brother.
Mm-hmm.
He played well. He whiffed on a sack early in the game, but he had a good recovery after that. But it was just an ugly game overall. Tevin Coleman got hurt.
Just some injuries, and Brito was out for a little bit. I think he ended up coming back for the end of the game, but just going to show how wacky Week 1 was. That was a perfect way to end the 4:00 games because it was just an absolute wacky game. The last game on Sunday was between the Steelers and the Patriots. Last year, the Steelers showed up big and beat New England. This year, ring ceremony, a lot of hype.
The news of AB struck.
The news of AB, people excited, everything going crazy. 3 for the Steelers, 33 of the Patriots. What the heck happened if you're the Steelers?
I don't even know where to begin. I mean, they didn't get the run game going. James Conner didn't really show up. I think he had 19 yards or something.
Yeah, James Conner had 10 carries for 21 yards.
Wow.
Only 4 catches for 44. Juju Smith-Schuster, 6 catches for 78 yards, expecting a little bit more of that. Obviously, only ended up with 3 points, so no touchdowns for Ben, but he did throw an interception. The Steelers just looked like they were not ready for the moment.
Yeah.
And there was all this talk, real quick, about Le'Veon Bell and AB. We don't need them. It kind of seemed like they did. Go ahead with your impressions on the Steelers.
I think that Big Ben is just a little off because he had a couple passes that he overthrew James Washington on, Dante Moncrief. He was trying to force the ball too much. Vance McDonald didn't have a catch till like the last drive in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
You got to use all your weapons and.
I benched him in fantasy, and I was kind of happy until the last drive. I was like, great, there's nothing.
Yeah, looking good, but I think it's more of a testament to the Patriots being a complete team. And, I think the difference between, the Patriots and a lot of these, lesser teams like the Miami and I would say even the Giants on defense is that the Patriots don't miss open tackles. They don't let someone beat them, and everyone's a good tackler. I saw a lot in the Giants game. A lot of guys were missing tackles. And you didn't really see that in the Patriots. A lot of Devin McCourty making a lot of really good tackles. I don't know, they just looked just like a top-to-bottom team.
Yeah, I mean, they play a complete football, right? Offense, defense, special teams, all the above, coaches. Obviously, they are the Patriots. Some people now with AB are saying they're going to go undefeated. I disagree. We'll see what happens. They do have the best quarterback in the league on their team who threw for 341 yards and 3 touchdowns, and Tom Brady. He still is Tom Brady.
I mean, that offense looked unstoppable, and you're just adding the best wide receiver in the league to it.
Yeah, I mean, what happens to this guy, Philip Dorsett, who, by the way, caught 2 of Tom's 3 touchdowns, went for 95 yards. He's going to disappear, right?
I don't know. I mean, Tom Brady makes lesser-known players better. It happened with Wes Welker. It happened with Danny Amendola. And Phil Dorsett might be the next guy.
He does like to spread the ball around, but we'll see how much ball there is to go around. Obviously, a dominating performance for the Patriots. They go to play Miami next week. That's going to be an obvious decision of who we're going to take for those games. But let's quickly move on to Monday night. We got the Texans at the Saints. Probably the best finish, the closest game, the least wackiest game of the year. A little bit of wackiness at the end of the first half, actually. But 28 for the Texans, 30 for the Saints. Deshaun Watson, with 50 seconds left, orchestrates a 2-pass, 11 or it might have been 13-second drive to go down the field and take the lead 28-27. Actually, it was a tie 27-27, right? And Fairbairn misses the extra point, roughing the kicker called.
But it was so late, he had already landed the kicker.
Yep, and yet
it's just a bonehead play.
Bonehead play. He did not need to do it. He looked pretty upset on the sideline until he saw number 9 run out with 37 seconds left and marched down the field with only 1 timeout. Great job getting up to the line, spiking the ball by the offensive line. Very good awareness.
They saved their timeout.
But
are we really surprised?
A career-high field goal for Lutz at 58 to win the game. No, we're not surprised.
I mean, you kind of Drew Brees is paid to do this, and there's a reason why he's the leader in passing yards and completions. He's closing on Peyton Manning.
Touchdowns,
He's less than 20 away, which he should get by the end of the year, him and Tom. And, I mean, Kamara's a beast. Michael Thomas is sure hands.
123 yards on 10 catches for Michael Thomas. Kamara, 13 carries, 97 yards, 7 catches for 72 yards. Touchdown spread out a little bit for the two for Breeze there. But
I mean, they always move the ball around.
they always
Spread
find
it
a way
around.
to score. It was in New Orleans. There's always magic in the air when you have number 9 as your quarterback. Deshaun Watson on the other side played a pretty awesome game as well. He did have the 1 interception. Nuke went bananas with the 2 touchdowns, 111 yards on 8 catches. Kind of like what I saw out of their running backs in Carlos Hyde and Duke Johnson kind of both got in the mix there. Duke more on the catching side, obviously. Carlos Hyde didn't look too bad on 10 rushes for 83 yards. Bottom line is, do you think that they deserve to lose this game?
We all predicted them to lose,
That's
but
true.
we all believe in the Texans.
Right.
I think, they showed a lot of improvement. I think they can fix a couple things on their offensive line. I mean, Tunsil just got traded, 9 days ago.
Right. He looked a little rusty.
Yeah, they needed to get situated and, ease into the season. But, the Texans have 2 really tough games in the first 2 weeks.
They do. But we both expect these teams to make the playoffs. And to be honest, this was the only game in week 1 that week because I had a playoff-like atmosphere.
Absolutely.
Moving on to the last game, the Raiders took down the Broncos 24-16. I'm clearly happy about this.
Knock on wood if you're with me.
Knock on wood if you are with me. Thank you, John Gruden. Josh Jacobs is a household name finally. 23 carries, 85 yards to go along with 1 catch for a big 28-yard pickup on their second to last drive, the last scoring drive. Go along with 2 touchdowns. Derek Carr played beautifully, especially in terms of completion. Not as good as that Jaguars rookie who was 22 for 25. Derek was 22 for 26, but no interception on Derek's end. Tyrell Williams looked awesome. Looked like a wide receiver 1. All the talk about what is it going to do to their passing offense with AB leaving. They never practiced with AB. They looked like they never practiced with AB. 105 yards and a touchdown for Tyrell. Darren Waller, supposed to be everybody's sleeper. 7 catches for 70 yards. Also looked good. Broncos, not so much. Raiders winning this game doesn't mean anything going forward. Broncos losing this game and looking the way they looked. Emmanuel Sanders had the 1 touchdown. Courtland Sutton actually played a good game. They didn't really get a lot on the ground with Lindsey. Flacco looked hit or miss on his throws. Is there anything to take away from this result of this game?
From a Raiders perspective, I'd be pretty excited. I mean, your 3 rookies from the first round this year all played really well.
That's
true.
true.
Clelin Ferrell was getting pressure on Flacco.
Mm-hmm.
Abrams loves to hit people. And I think that's a guy who you can really get excited about.
Yeah, and he's going to have a couple penalties for lowering his helmet and roughness and stuff like that, but he loves to get after it for sure. So
I think the Raiders just dominated the game. Is the only thing I would have for concern is, the penalties. That backs them up. I mean, if Tyrell Williams doesn't catch that monster pass, was in the second quarter, then they were backed up on their 1-yard line because of 3 consecutive penalties. And
that drive started with within the 10-yard line. That was actually on a 3rd and 1 that Tyrell caught that bomb. But if he doesn't catch that, then they're not at the 40, 50-yard line, and they don't have an actual chance to make a drive out of it. And the fact that they made that, it was a 98-yard drive, ending in the Josh Jacobs touchdown, was huge there in the second quarter. I like the way they played. I'm not ready to overreact. I'll overreact on all these other teams, but
overreacted early. That's why
I do think the Broncos, beating the Broncos at home amidst everything that's happened
In your last season in Oakland,
exactly.
they're going to play extra hard.
I think this should have been expected, and we'll see where they go from there. So real quick, we're going to talk about a couple people we may have talked about or may not have talked about. Let's just talk about some Week 1 top performers. Who do you think had the best performance in Week 1?
I mean, I would go Sammy Watkins.
Yeah.
Come back. I mean, he might just be, if you base the season on this one game, comeback player of the year. He struggled over the past few seasons with
injuries, and for him to just get open and duck and dive and juke everyone out, it was good to have Sammy Watkins back.
He looked healthy. He looked fast. He looked like he was Tyreek Hill, like you could mix them up on accident. 198 yards and 3 touchdowns. Absolutely absurd. we don't even see that happen often with the best players that we know are the best. For Sammy Watkins, a guy like Watkins, a number 2 receiver, to do it was definitely really cool. What about a guy like Austin Eckler?
I mean, he was just, again, like you said before, Melvin Gordon who?
Yeah.
We knew he was going to be that versatile pass-catching back when Melvin Gordon played. And, he had a good season last year. But a small guy, hard over height, you got to get that in there.
Definitely, 100%.
But, what is he, like 5'7"?
Yeah.
And to play in a league against, 350-pound linemen and to 154 total yards and 3 touchdowns, getting banged up every week is, really impressive. If he can keep that up, the Chargers might not be in that bad of shape.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely is that Darren Sproles-esque when the Chargers used to have him, usually that 1-2 punch, but now everyone wanted to know what it would be like with him as your number 1 running back, and he certainly reassured everybody it would be all right. What about Christian McCaffrey with that beast game, similar game to Eckler actually, in that loss to the Rams?
I mean, McCaffrey is just, what is this, his 3rd year? And he's gotten more involved every year and gotten better and stronger and faster. And,
Yep.
You didn't really expect this from a kid coming out of Stanford. And look at him now. He's an absolute monster, top 5 running back in the NFL. Production-wise, he's one of, if not the best players in the NFL. And their offense relies on him.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope he stays healthy because I don't want to see that offense without him in there.
Absolutely. All 3 of those guys with 3 touchdowns at the top of the league. Christian McCaffrey leads the league in all-purpose yards at 209 right now. 29 touches, the most of week 1 from, obviously, a skill position. He is a beast. He's worked on his body, no pause, all that. But he is a monster. He runs strong. He's not an outside scat back only. He could do that, but he can go between the tackles.
He's a 3-down back now, too.
Yeah, he does it all for the Panthers. Lamar Jackson. We didn't put him on the screen because Hollywood Brown had such an amazing rookie performance, for your first game ever, your first 2 catches to be, touchdowns and get 130 yards on him. But this guy, Lamar Jackson, 17 for 20 is ridiculous. 5 touchdowns and 324 yards. Of course, we talked about how it was at Miami, but great to see a running back do so well at the quarterback position. Dak Prescott, you don't have to comment if you don't want.
No, thank you.
We'll read the stats off and just move right along. 25 for 32, 405 yards, and 4 tutties, playing for a contract. Originally, I was like, hey, maybe Dallas would be stupid enough to give it to him, but it's kind of looked like if he does this every week, at least he'll earn it. And last but not least, we talked about Deshaun Jackson, looking like the old Deshaun Jackson. Maybe he's back, maybe he's not. Maybe it was 1 game, but 8 catches for 154 yards and 2 touchdowns. Definitely energized the Eagles in that win there. Poor performances. Stuff we probably hit on already. Go through it real quick. The Dolphins' defense.
Horrible. Absolutely
59
horrible.
points allowed. We have nothing to say about that. Fun fact, negative 11 fantasy points.
That is
awful, atrocious. It's you lose a game specifically because of that, no matter who else is on your team. Jameis Winston at number 2.
Jameis again was disappointing. Coming in healthy, all his receivers are healthy.
Hyping up Chris Godwin, Bruce Arians, throw, quarterback whisperer. We're not talking about the fact that he could get benched at halftime. Right, he got benched at halftime a bunch, or during the game a bunch last year for Fitz magic. There's that uncertainty, a lot of good hype up around Jameis Winston. 3 picks in an ugly game, 2 of them for pick sixes.
Every time I turn that game on, just to peek at the score, they had the ball and he was just overthrowing Mike Evans and Godwin and
seemed like something was always going wrong every time he changed the channel to see what Winston had to do. At number 3, in terms of weak performances, the Bears' offense. We talked about it earlier. Only 3 total points. I think I put this on here because Matt Nagy is supposed to be a genius. We've seen some of the things he's been able to do. Obviously, Green Bay's defense got better, but this was definitely a disappointing performance.
I mean, you got to think the Bears' offense got better with, they got a first 2 down back in David Montgomery, and they want to work him more into the offense. They moved Tariq Cohen around. Allen Robinson is, hopefully back to his form when he was on the Jaguars.
Right.
And they
got
just
the weapons.
underperformed.
Trey Burton, everyone's high on him still.
And that defense just gives you a ton of opportunities.
Right. I mean, holding the Packers and Aaron Rodgers, who is one of the most talented quarterbacks of all time, right, to 10 points. You should win those games. At number 4, Sony Michel.
I didn't really see him. He had 15 carries, and it's like he wasn't even there. And all of the Patriots running backs had good games. Burkhead and James White had very good games, and Sony was just nowhere to be found.
Yeah, their backfield split was interesting. Sony got 15 touches for 14 yards. Burkhead had 13 touches, 16 targets, or 8 targets in the passing game, I should say, with the 8 carries. James White only amounted for 9 touches, having up to 11 possible chances to touch the ball, though. So it was very split, it seemed like. And out of all the running backs, Sony Michel, who I personally think even still has a chance to be a 1,000-yard rusher and has a chance to lead the league in rushing touchdowns, although he's a little bit far behind now that both McCaffrey and Eckler have 3. But 14 yards on 15 carries, less than a yard per carry. Uncharacteristic performance.
They also kind of just showed off that they were the dominant team at home throwing the ball. But I'm
yeah.
sure when they go away or they're playing bigger games, like when the Chiefs come to Foxborough this year, they'll establish the run, to open up the pass game. And I'm sure Sony will be a huge part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not too upset with Sony here. I'm not looking too much into it. Baker Mayfield at number 5. It was not dangerous at all week 1. I made that joke earlier. Yeah, it didn't really work the second time around, but you get the point.
Good
285
thing you brought it up
yards.
again, though.
Yeah, 285 yards, 3 interceptions.
3 fourth-quarter interceptions.
Yep, in a what you think may have a chance for a comeback. Clearly went downhill fast. All those weapons around him. We were hoping for more.
Yeah, it was unfortunate to see. I'm really high on Baker. I was high on him coming out of the draft. I'm thinking he's going to be, one of the ones to watch for the future. But this is disappointing, especially with Odell and Jarvis playing on the same field for the first time since LSU, where they absolutely tore up everyone's defense.
Right.
And, Njoku's a freak athlete. Nick Chubb in the backfield. They have a good offensive line, although they lost their right guard this year to the Giants in Zeidler.
Similar situation to Sony, though, here, where we're not going to look too much into week 1 here. We still love Baker. We still love Sony. One guy we don't love is Booger McFarland on the Monday Night Crew.
Oh, my goodness. He didn't wear his helmet this time. Or his seatbelt. This man he makes so many weird comments and just laughs it off. And we've had enough.
12 mispronounced words, 7 incorrect statistics reported during the game. I don't know if that's true.
I have a couple things that I wrote down as well.
He is trash. Get him off the commentary.
In the Monday night game last night, for the Saints, he had said that they should have used their timeout to negate the 10-second runoff at the end of the first half. And then when they didn't, Booker, praised Sean Payton for not doing it. So he kind of just, hedged and then flipped on his own word. And then he made some weird comments. Duke Johnson was running right to the right tackle, got the edge, and ran up the sideline for, I think, an 11-yard gain. And Booger was praising Duke Johnson's little toe tap on the sideline. But Duke Johnson was about 1.5 yards, 2 yards inbounds. I don't know where that toe tap came from. It's just poor commentary.
Definitely an odd guy.
I don't know if you want Jason Witten or Booger McFarland in the booth, but...
Well, at least Jason Witten's back on the field and John Gruden's back coaching. So, Booger, we're going to have to figure something out for you, buddy. Let's jump right into the next week's games. We're going to go through these really quickly, 10 seconds on each tops. Give me your pick 'em for each of the games. We're going to start with Thursday night. It's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Carolina Panthers. Who you got?
I like the Panthers.
I also like the Panthers. I think Cam Newton bounces back. I don't think Jameis Winston bounces back enough. Talk about the 1 o'clock games. The 49ers at the Bengals. Joe, what say you?
Preseason I thought the 49ers were going to win, but I don't know. The Bengals had a little encouraging week last week.
The Bengals did.
Although Mixon will be out.
Right, and that's what I was going to say is going to be a big deal for me. 49ers defense was what got them the win. I think they might be able to do it again. I'm going to go 49ers there. Next, we got the Chargers at the Lions.
I think the Chargers again. I mean, even though the Lions are at home, that offense looked pretty good.
Don't think it matters. Chargers are a possible playoff team, probable playoff team with the way they had played in week 1 and that great game with the Colts. nod to the Chargers for me as well. Vikings at the Packers. This should be a good one.
Got to go Packers at home, coming off a huge win against the Bears, 10 days rest, and Kirk Cousins doesn't play well outside in Lambeau.
And that's fair. And just to be on the opposite side of you, I'm going to go with the Vikings here. I think that defense was just way too much for the Falcons. I don't think the Packers' offense is much better than the Falcons' offense. I don't think it's better than the Falcons' offense at all. I still think they have a lot to figure out. I'm going to go Vikings on the road. Next, we got the Colts at the Titans.
I'm going to go the Colts this week.
Okay, why?
I think they were unlucky to get to lose last week against the Chargers, but this is a division game.
Yeah, it's going to be a good
these
one.
two teams always play really close. Both decent defenses. I think the Colts just squeeze one out.
I'm actually going to agree with you. I think a lot of people are going to be taking the Titans. Wow, 43 points. Wow, that defense. Wow. Offensive line for the Colts is legit. I think they give Brissett enough time and they give Mack enough holes to make something happen. And I don't think Derrick Henry does what he did again. Patriots at Dolphins. We're going to skip. We're both taking Patriots. Bills at Giants.
I'm going to go the Giants. I think we have to win this game at home. I mean, even though the Bills' defense stopped Le'Veon Bell last week held them to under 100 yards, Saquon is a different animal. Having to go back to MetLife two weeks in a row, a lot of unnecessary travel for the Bills, and I think the Giants get it done at home.
Yeah, Saquon, undisputed best running back in the NFL, in my opinion. Giants get it done this week. Seahawks at Steelers.
I mean, neither team was really encouraging last week.
Yeah, that's true.
You want to think the Steelers are going to win at home, but I think Jadeveon Clowney with another week with his defense, they don't let up those big plays like they did last week to John Ross. So I'm going to go Seahawks.
I'm going to go Steelers, and it hates me because I hate the Steelers, but I think they're going to bounce back. They're at home. I think they just show up. And I think it's going to be a close game regardless, but I'm going to give the edge to the Steelers in this early September game. Cowboys at Redskins.
I think you got to go Cowboys.
I agree.
Better on both sides of the ball.
Redskins will be home, but I think they shot their load, for lack of a better term, in my head right now in their Week 1 performance.
Whoa.
Yeah, but I think the Cowboys are going to get it done. Cardinals at Ravens.
God bless you.
Woo! Excuse me, everybody.
I'm going to go Ravens at home.
Gotta be.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough game for Kyler Murray to go against that Baltimore defense.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think Lamar Jackson does what he did last week?
No, I think they focus more on the run. I think they control the game and keep the ball out of Kyler's hands.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I still think it's a W for the Ravens. Jaguars at Texans, the last of the 1 o'clock games. Who you got?
I love the Texans in this game. It's hard to go for the Jaguars with the rookie quarterback in Gardner Minshew. Although I do have the Jaguars winning a ton of games this year, I just think the Texans are just a little better at this point.
You also have the Jaguars winning a ton of games with Nick Foles, not a rookie quarterback. I agree, Texans bounced back. Not even really a bounce back. They played well, but unfortunate to lose that game last night. They get it done here. Chiefs at the Raiders.
I know where you want to go, but I think the Chiefs are going to pull this one out. Just too much firepower on offense. And
no Tyreek Hill. Don't know what they're doing with their running backs.
They did have a close game at Oakland last year, though.
They did. Raiders always play them good at home. Raiders have momentum. I'm going Raiders despite any good football knowledge or judgment the world is going to tell me. Taking the Raiders. Bears at the Broncos. 4 o'clock game.
If the Broncos thought the Raiders' defense was good last night, they're in for a rude awakening when Khalil Mack comes back to town. They thought they got rid of him. I think the Bears win a very low-scoring game, but it's probably not going to be close.
Yeah, the last time I think Khalil Mack played in Denver, he had 5 sacks in one game.
Take the under.
Yeah, I'm going to go Bears on this one. Saints at Rams. We talked about Houston having a very tough first 2 games. Well, the Saints have a very tough 2 games as well, going to Los Angeles to play the Rams. Who you got?
I love the Saints in this game. I think, get a little revenge for last season's NFC Championship game. Gets the Saints rolling for this year, and they're my Super Bowl favorite and out of the NFC.
Yeah, no, they're my Super Bowl pick out of the NFC and Super Bowl winner pick for both of us. But I have the Rams here. I do. I think the Saints will get their revenge in the playoffs. I think the Rams are going to come out and give Todd Gurley his touchdowns that he thinks he deserved and that he's going to get mad at Sean McVay about. And I think the Rams are going to edge it out in this one. The Sunday night game, Eagles at Falcons. Who you got?
I like the Falcons in this game. I think Matt Ryan at home, prime time, and a really disappointing week last week. I think they step it up, take it up a level this week.
Yeah, Eagles defense worried me with what they did against the Redskins. I think Falcons are going to have a sense of urgency. They're going to know they need to score. I think they go out and get the job done. In our last game of the week, Monday Night Football, the Cleveland Browns at the New York Jets.
I'm going to go with Cleveland Browns. Baker's playing the Jets, who he made his debut against last year and had a ton of success. Odell's coming back to Giant Stadium, MetLife Stadium, and I think he puts on a show.
Now, I agree with that. I'm going to go with Cleveland Browns here. I think the Browns have the Jets number, and that's pretty much going to be that. Don't go anywhere. We're going to take a quick break and come back with some social media sightings. Quick bit for you guys.
If you want to crown them, then crown their but they are who we thought they were.
Hey, I'm here so I won't get fined, boss.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
Not bad for a running back.
Antonio, coach is on the line. Hey, coach. Hello.
Yo, what's up, coach?
What the hell's going on, man?
Just a villain all over the news, man.
Is Antonio all right? He didn't behave like this before he started getting this money. There's something wrong with AB. Antonio Brown has been an absolute embarrassment. And I feel like you're the most misunderstood fucking human being in my entire life that I've ever met. I mean, I brought you here because you're my favorite guy. I've never seen a guy work hard. But I don't know where you are in your life right now, office. All I know is you got a lot of things going. There's a lot of people that have an opinion about you. And whether it be good or bad, you're in the spotlight all the time. Let me ask you this, do you want to be a Raider or not?
I've been trying to be a Raider since day one. I've been fucking working my ass off harder than anyone. I don't know why it's a question of me being a Raider. Like, you guys want me to be a Raider.
Please stop this shit and just play football. How hard is it, man? You're a great football player. Just play football.
Yeah, but I'm more than a football player, man. I'm a real person. It ain't about the football. I know how to do that. I'll show you guys there on the daily. This is my life. Ain't no more games.
Ain't no more games, so go retire then.
Ain't no more games for the Raiders is what he meant.
Out of your mind, Antonio Brown. Welcome to Social Sightings. This is our bit where we are going to scour social media for something cool, funny, maybe disappointing in this case. Yeah, noteworthy to show you guys, for those watching the video, for those that are not, do our best to describe it to you. Antonio Brown is who we're going to start with. This guy is a social media fiend. Posts all the time, multiple pictures a day, most likely to his Instagram account. Obviously, he posted this to YouTube, this video with the recording you just heard that makes me want to just rip my head off of my own head as an Oakland Raider fan, even though we don't need him because we just beat the Broncos and Tyrell Williams looked great. Start with your reaction, though, Joe, to this video he posted and the entire saga in general.
I'm not as salty as you are, but I just think this is absolutely hilarious. I mean,
hilarious. Interesting word.
Did he use the Raiders just to get on Hard Knocks, just to get on primetime television?
Probably.
Or I heard that he was texting John Gruden, and John Gruden said he loved the video and go post it, and that was the permission that he needed to post it because in California you need two-way consent to post a video or recording.
Yeah, so there was no text messages, but they sent it to Gruden. His video producer sent it and said, "What do you think?" And Gruden just said, "I love it. Absolutely loved it. I love it." Gruden should literally, no human being should love that. Gruden, you shouldn't love it. He's literally using your words in your phone call. Ridiculous. Yes, I guess that is permission. Gruden literally going out of his mind, out of his moral compass, out of what he believes in to try to accommodate this guy who's just using the Raiders. You saw how obviously he reacted when he found out he got released. You think it was planned the whole time?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he hired social media experts kind of proves that. I mean,
Right.
Who are these social media experts? 13-year-old girls?
Right.
This is incredible, so funny from my perspective, as an unbiased fan.
Yeah.
I feel for you as a Raider fan.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, as a Raider fan, it's obviously frustrating. I made the comparison on Twitter myself. He was the hottest girl we ever dated, okay? And the next girl's not going to be as pretty, but they're going to be better for us. They're going to treat us better. I'm a big believer in karma. I think there's a lot of bad juju coming his way, pun intended, because of Juju Smith-Schuster. But, this was just one of his posts, as you can see here. All of these posts when he found out he was a Patriot. Funny post. He's smiling. He posted a picture of him in uniform before he's even been in uniform. By the way, he did literally all of these type of posts when he got traded to the Raiders. Did the same thing as you can see here, posting himself in Raider uniform. It's a cycle. We'll see if Belichick can break the cycle. If not, we're going to see what happens with Antonio. Do you think he lasts?
Yeah, I mean, he's only on a 1-year deal, but you got to think he's going to get a big contract either from the Patriots or from another team next season. They kind of jump over everyone else and become Super Bowl favorites now.
Yeah, I mean, if he can make it 16 games with the Patriots, 16-19 at this point, obviously good things will probably come to him somehow at the end of all of that. Interesting post. Screw him as a biased fan. It'll be fun to watch, though. Funny to watch going forward. We're going to move on to Odell Beckham, who actually didn't post this himself. We found this on other social media accounts here, but the storyline itself has to be talked about. You wear a Richard Mille watch, $350,000 watch in a game that you're getting absolutely covered, just killed. I was not English. We're going to cut that part out. You're getting smacked is what I wanted to say. You're getting clapped. You're getting absolutely destroyed. And you're wearing this watch and you're defending the watch. What do you say about that?
Who has the audacity to even come out after the game? Who wears a watch during a football game? Did
he want to check the time? You're looking at a 60-minute clock, not a...
He said he showers with it. He never takes it off. That's got to be uncomfortable.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Is it waterproof? It probably has to be
Yeah,
at that point.
It's got to be. But NFL is looking into it. He said he's going to wear it no matter what. Freddie Kitchens, makes his debut, and then he gets asked about it in the post-game interview. And he was like, Odell was wearing a watch.
Right.
I mean, that's something, only the trolliest of trolls online find.
Which was a great find.
Yeah, it's a great find.
I didn't see it until it was pointed out to me. Pretty hilarious stuff. I hope he does keep wearing it. Maybe he takes after AB here. Stand up for what you believe in if you believe in wearing a watch during a freaking football game. Let's move on to Julian Edelman posting a picture on Twitter of Tom Brady as the Man of Steel.
Super Tom. I mean, what more can you say?
I mean, Pittsburgh Steelers, Pittsburgh known for their steel. This was like the greatest play on words I've seen a football player know to post. Very well done after all the smack that Pittsburgh was talking going into this year.
Did Clark Kent also kiss his sons on the lips?
I hope not. That would be an interesting twist to those movies. Who knows? Maybe in a couple of years when they remake them, it'll be friendly enough to do so in this world that we live in. Move on to Jerome Baker, the starting linebacker, right outside linebacker for the Miami Dolphins. Reports came out after that 59-10 brutal beating the Dolphins.
Several players called their agents and asked for a trade.
And he posted a picture saying, I'll go to war with this team every day.
Doesn't sound like his team will go to war with him, though.
Not at all. What do you think is going to happen there? You think multiple people are going to be traded? You think they're just going to say screw it?
I don't see any of those guys starting on another team unless there's an injury. No one really stood out this week.
Right.
It was really
other than Xavier and Howard, probably, right? We'll see. I don't know if he was one of the people that... I didn't get a list of names, but hopefully he was not one of the people that asked to be traded. Lastly, we're going to end it on a good note here. We're going to end on a nice little heartfelt note. Robert Griffin III. Ravens actually posted this to their Twitter and Instagram. It's a picture of his wrist wearing his wife's hospital bracelet the night before they had a baby girl, and he wears it to the game, and they blow him out so much that he actually gets to go in the game, and then he goes in and throws a touchdown.
And dedicates it to his daughter. I mean, these are the stories that, football's not the end-all, be-all.
Right.
Family comes first, and, this is a great way to end not only our podcast, but week one.
Yeah, I mean, definitely shows you that sports are more than just a game. Special moment here from RG3. Shout out to him and his wife Greta.
Congratulations.
And to the baby girl. Hope all the best there. Very awesome to see. Something that you'll be able to tell her one day, and she'll hopefully understand the significance. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for overreacting with us. I'm still a little heated over the fact that we just talked about Antonio Brown. A lot of good stuff. A lot of picks that just happened. We'll see how all the outcomes of week 2, and we'll be back next week with a similar format.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Deuces.